listen, before this next year comes crashing in, you got to make a decision that could change everything about who you are and where you're going. You got to stop chasing the noise, stop drowning in the chaos, stop letting the world pull you into battles that were never yours. This time, it's personal. This time, it's about you, your soul, your hunger, your comeback. Too many people out here trying to drag you into their darkness while you're just trying to find your own light. Too many voices telling you who to be, how to move, what to feel, when deep down you already know the truth that's been whispering in your chest. You've just been ignoring it. Before 2026 arrives, you need to cut the background music of everyone else's expectations and tune into the rhythm of your own heartbeat. You need to step back from the drama, the fake love, the draining conversations, and the people who clap for you only when it benefits them. It's time to lock in, time to get quiet, time to build something real, not for validation, not for applause, not for followers, for you. For the version of yourself that's been waiting too long to take center stage. This next year isn't asking for the old you. It's demanding the focused you, the disciplined you, the unstoppable you, and that version only shows up when you decide you're done giving your power away. So before the new year hits, before the clock resets, before life throws another test your way, make one promise to yourself: focus only on you. Protect your energy like it's gold. Move with purpose like you've got something to prove, and walk like you finally understand that nobody can build your destiny except you. Because once you lock in, once you commit, once you silence the distractions, the world won't just see the change, they'll feel it. And you'll know deep in your spirit that this time you didn't just survive, you rose. The world today is louder than it has ever been, and that noise isn't just sound, it's pressure, opinions, expectations, judgments, distractions, and the constant pull of everything outside you. When life gets this loud, your own voice becomes the first thing to fade into the background. That inner voice, the one that speaks in moments of clarity, the one that knows what you want. What you fear, what you dream of gets drowned out little by little until you're no longer moving for yourself. You're moving on autopilot, guided by everyone else's desires except your own. Key point number one is about finding that voice again, not by force, but by turning inward and remembering that real direction doesn't come from the world. It comes from within you. When you're surrounded by constant noise, silence becomes a rare kind of power, and yet most people avoid it because silence forces you to hear the truth. It forces you to hear your doubts, your needs, your weaknesses, your strengths, and most importantly, your calling. When you don't slow down long enough to listen, you end up chasing goals that were never yours, fighting battles that never belonged to you, and carrying expectations you were never meant to hold. That is why reconnecting with your inner voice is not just self-care, it's survival. You live in a world built to distract you. Every notification is designed to pull your attention away from your purpose. Every trend is created to convince you that you should want something else. Every comparison you make chips away at your sense of direction. It becomes so easy to lose yourself without even realizing it. You start shaping your identity based on what gets approval, what gets likes, what gets applause, instead of what feels right in your heart. The truth is that your inner voice doesn't disappear, you just stop listening. And once you stop listening, you surrender control of your life to everything around you. But when you finally learn to hear it again, when you sit with yourself long enough to recognize the sound of your own spirit, something shifts. The confusion settles. The chaos softens. Decisions become clearer. You stop asking for permission. You stop explaining your moves. You stop waiting for validation. You begin to trust yourself more than you trust the noise. Finding your inner voice again means stepping away from the world long enough to understand who you really are without the labels people gave you. It means unlearning the beliefs that were forced onto you and rebuilding your identity from the inside out. It means recognizing that nobody knows your path better than you do, and nobody can hear the truth inside you except you. That truth may be quiet, but it is consistent. It doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It doesn't compete with noise. It simply waits for you to slow down, breathe, and finally pay attention. When you do, you'll find that this voice has been guiding you all along, nudging you toward what feels right and warning you when something isn't aligned. You've just been too caught up in the world to notice. I believe strongly that, my audience, learning to hear your inner voice again is an act of courage. It requires shutting out distractions, even when they're comfortable. It requires distancing yourself from people who talk too loud but think too little. Requires patience with yourself as you rediscover what truly matters to you. And it requires discipline to protect that voice once you find it, because the world will always try to silence it again. But when you choose to reconnect with it, you reclaim your power, you reclaim your clarity, you reclaim your life. Listening to your inner voice is the first step toward becoming someone who moves with intention instead of confusion, someone who walks with purpose instead of panic, someone who is guided not by noise, but by truth tucked deep within your own soul. Your energy is one of the most sacred things you possess, and most people don't realize how easily it gets drained, stolen, or redirected when they give it away without thinking. In a world where everyone is fighting their own battles, trying to survive their own storms, and carrying wounds you can't see, you have to understand that not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your time, your support, your loyalty, or your presence. Too often, you end up pouring into people who don't pour back, investing in relationships that deplete you, and giving pieces of yourself to individuals who have no intention of valuing or protecting what you offer. Key point number 2 is about finally recognizing that your energy is precious and learning how to preserve it by choosing carefully who gets close to you. When you waste your energy on the wrong people, you delay your light and weaken your spirit, and most of the time, you don't even notice the damage until you're already running empty. You have to understand that your vision is not meant for everyone. Your dreams will not make sense to the ones who stop dreaming. Your discipline will irritate the ones who have none. Your ambition will threaten people who refuse to work on themselves. And your self-respect will expose those who only benefited when you lack boundaries. That's why your energy is too sacred to give freely. When you allow people into your life who don't match your vision, they will pull you off the path you're meant to walk. They will distract you with drama, drain you with problems they don't want to solve, and expect loyalty from you while offering none in return. Some people only come close because your light makes them feel alive, but that doesn't mean they want to see you grow. Sometimes they want your energy more than your success, your presence more than your progress. That's why you must be intentional about who you share your space with, especially as you approach a new season in your life. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It's necessary. It means saying no without guilt. It means walking away from people who disturb your peace. It means distancing yourself from those who talk big but think small. It means recognizing that not everyone you care about is healthy for your future. Some connections expire not because of hate, but because you've outgrown the level at which they live. And if you keep shrinking yourself to fit into spaces where you no longer belong, you will suffocate your own potential. When you focus your energy on people who uplift you, inspire you, and encourage your growth, you start to see how powerful you really are. Your creativity rises, your confidence strengthens, your spirit calms, your direction becomes clear. But when you invest in people who only take and never give, you lose sight of who you are and where you're going. Your energy is your fuel, and you cannot pour into the future if you keep spilling it on people stuck in the past. You cannot build yourself when you're constantly repairing others who don't want to change. You cannot move forward when you're emotionally anchored to people who benefit from keeping you in the same place. This next chapter of your life requires alignment, not attachment. It requires clarity, not chaos. It requires surrounding yourself with people who match your effort, your values, and your vision. And when someone no longer aligns, you need to let them go with grace. Because holding on to people who aren't meant for your future is the quickest way to sabotage your progress. When you choose who gets access to your energy, you choose the direction of your life. And when you finally protect it, you realize how unstoppable you become when you are surrounded by the right people and anchored by your own purpose. Growth in 2026 isn't going to appear out of thin air, and it's not going to meet you where you're standing right now. It demands something from you, something real, something consistent, something uncomfortable. Key point 3 is a reminder that tomorrow isn't where change begins. Discipline today is. Most people talk about transforming their lives, but they keep waiting for right moment, the right mindset, or the right motivation. They treat growth like it's a surprise that will show up at their doorstep one morning. But the truth is simple and harsh. Nothing in your life will shift until you decide to shift. And that decision has to happen now, not later. Your future won't rewrite itself if your habits stay the same. Your goals won't manifest if your effort stays weak. And the person you want to become won't appear if you keep living like the person you're trying to outgrow. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. It isn't glamorous. It isn't loud. It isn't the part people applaud. Discipline is the silent work, the early mornings when nobody is awake to notice, the late nights when nobody is cheering you on, the sacrifices nobody understands, the choices nobody sees. It's saying no to comfort, no to temptation, no to shortcuts, because you're committed to something bigger than the moment. People often confuse discipline with punishment, but discipline is actually a form of self-love. It's telling yourself, I believe in my future enough to do what's necessary right now. And the problem is that most people want the results without the responsibility. They want the freedom without the focus. They want the victory without the sacrifice. Growth doesn't work like that. Success doesn't work like that. Life doesn't reward intentions, it rewards consistency. As 2026 gets closer, the world will get faster, more distracting, more demanding. And if you don't have discipline, you will get swallowed by the chaos. You'll find yourself falling into in old habits, repeating old patterns, and making excuses for why you're still in the same place. Discipline protects your purpose from being destroyed by procrastination. It keeps you moving when motivation disappears. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. A discipline is a decision. It stays even when you don't feel like showing up. And the reality is that most breakthroughs happen on days when you didn't feel ready, didn't feel inspired, didn't feel strong, but you did the work anyway. Those are the days that build you. Those are the days that separate the dreamers from the doers. You have to understand that your life will reflect whatever you commit to daily. If you commit to excuses, you'll get regret. If you commit to procrastination, you'll get stagnation. If you commit to discipline, you'll get transformation. That's how simple yet powerful it is. Growth doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. It requires showing up with what you have, doing what you can, and trusting that the small steps will add up. Every habit you build becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. Every moment of discipline becomes evidence that you're serious about changing your life. And every sacrifice becomes proof that you're no longer negotiating with your potential. The truth is that the version of you that enters 2026 will depend entirely on how disciplined you choose to be now. You can choose to drift, letting life push you around, or you can choose to build, shaping your path with intention. The world won't hand you your dreams. It won't pause for you to catch up. It won't apologize for the challenges it throws your way. That's why discipline matters. It's the only promise you can make to yourself that ensures progress no matter what the world does. And when you embrace discipline today, you give yourself the chance to walk into 2026 stronger, sharper, wiser, and closer to the person you know you're meant to become. Self-respect is the foundation of every transformation, because without it, you will always underestimate your worth, accept less than you deserve, and settle for situations that shrink you. Key point number 4 is a reminder that nothing in your life can truly rise until your self-respect rises first. When you genuinely respect yourself, your choices change, your boundaries sharpen, your habits strengthen, and your entire energy shifts. You stop begging for the love you should have been giving yourself. You stop tolerating treatment that contradicts your value. You stop shrinking just to keep the peace. You stop apologizing for taking up space. Self-respect isn't loud, but it's powerful. It's the quiet force that shapes the way you move, look, think, love, work, and show up for your own future. Most people carry dreams, but not everyone carries the self-respect required to pursue them fully. When you don't respect yourself, you allow procrastination to win. You allow fear to control your choices, and you allow people to dictate your worth. You ignore your instincts because you don't trust your own judgment. You abandon your needs because you believe everyone else's happiness matters more than yours. You break your own promises because you don't believe you're deserving of the results that come from discipline. That's why self-respect is more than a feeling. It's a lifestyle, a standard, a line you draw in your spirit that says, this is who I am, and I refuse to be treated as anything less. Self-respect changes your relationship with everything. It changes your relationship with people because you stop chasing those who don't value you. It changes your relationship with time because you stop wasting it on distractions that don't benefit your growth. It changes your relationship with your mind because you start replacing self-doubt with self-belief. And it changes your relationship with your future because you finally realize you're worthy of becoming the person you imagine. When you respect yourself, you naturally begin to demand more from your life, not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. You understand you cannot rise while staying loyal to environments that break you. You understand that protecting your peace is more important than keeping people comfortable. You understand that saying no is sometimes the most powerful yes you can give to yourself. Self-respect also means being honest with yourself about your flaws, your habits, your pain, and your patterns. It isn't about pretending you're perfect. It's about caring enough to correct what's holding you back. It's choosing growth even when it's uncomfortable. It's acknowledging what you've been avoiding. It's healing from wounds instead of using them as excuses. It's breaking cycles you were never meant to carry into the next year. This kind of honesty requires courage because it forces you to confront your own reflection without filters, without denial, without running away. But the moment you accept responsibility for the parts of you that need work, you take back every ounce of power you once gave away. As you move toward 2026, self-respect becomes even more important because the world around you will only get more demanding, more distracting, and more draining. If you don't build a strong sense of self-respect now, the pressure of the world will swallow you. You'll slip back into cycles that steal your peace. You'll tolerate relationships that dim your light. You'll accept opportunities beneath your potential. But when your self-respect is strong, you move differently. You speak differently, you love differently, you choose differently, you walk with a sense of purpose that cannot be shaken by opinions, by rejection, by failure, or by loneliness. You trust yourself more deeply. You believe in yourself more consistently. You show up for yourself more fully. And when that happens, everything around you begins to shift. Doors open. People treat you differently because you treat yourself differently. Opportunities appear because you finally feel worthy of them. Growth becomes natural because you're no longer fighting against your own worth. Self-respect becomes the silent, steady force that carries you into a new year with strength, dignity, focus, and unshakable confidence in who you are becoming. Your circle will shrink, but your power will rise, and this is one of the most difficult truths to accept on any journey of self-growth. Key point number 5 is a reminder that evolution comes with separation, elevation comes with distance, and becoming who you're meant to be often requires walking away from who you used to be and from the people attached to that version of you. Most people fear losing people more than they fear losing themselves, so they hold on to friendships that no longer feel like home, relationships that no longer support their growth, and social connections built on history rather than alignment. But the deeper you step into your purpose, the more you realize that not everyone can walk the next chapter with you. Some people were only meant for a season. Some were only meant for a lesson. Some were meant to push you, break you, or shape you, but not stay with you as you rise. As you grow, the crowd around you thins, not because you're better than anyone, but because you're becoming different from who you once were. Growth exposes who's truly for you and who's only comfortable with you when you stay the same. When you start evolving, the ones who loved your old patterns may feel threatened by your new standards. The ones who enjoyed your weaknesses might resent your strength. The ones who benefited from your silence might fear your voice. And the ones who relied on your insecurity might distance themselves when you finally develop confidence. A shrinking circle isn't a sign that you're losing. It's a sign that you're aligning. It means you're no longer entertaining people who drain you, distract you, confuse you, or keep you small. It means you're making room for peace, clarity, and purpose. It means you're no longer afraid of being alone because you finally understand that solitude is not a weakness. It's where power grows. As your circle gets smaller, something else happens. Your energy becomes cleaner. You stop wasting time explaining your dreams to people who can't see beyond their own limitations. You stop seeking validation from people who don't even validate themselves. You stop carrying emotional weight that was never yours. And for the first time, you realize how much of your strength was being spent trying to keep the wrong people close. When those people fall away, you get that strength back. You feel lighter, sharper, more focused. You start thinking more clearly, moving more intentionally, and acting more boldly. Your decisions become stronger because they're no longer influenced by opinions that never understood your vision in the first place. A shrinking circle teaches you quality over quantity. It teaches you that one genuine person is worth more than 10 inconsistent ones. It teaches you that loyalty is rare, energy is contagious, and alignment is priceless. As you approach 2026, you will notice that the people who remain closest to you are the ones who respect your boundaries, support your growth, and celebrate your wins without jealousy. They are the ones who speak life into you, not fear. They push you toward your potential, not back toward your past. They challenge you to rise higher, not shrink lower. These are the connections that deserve your time and your heart. Anything less than that becomes noise you must leave behind. There is also a silent strength that comes from walking alone for a while. When your circle shrinks, you learn how powerful you are without constant company. You learn to trust your own instincts. You learn to build alone, heal alone, think alone, and grow alone. You realize you don't need a crowd to validate your direction. You don't need applause to confirm your progress. You don't need permission to step into your future. This independence becomes a kind of power that nobody can take from you because it comes from within, not from the people around you. And as your power rises, so does your purpose. You begin attracting people who match your energy instead of draining it. You draw in connection rather than cling to it. You gain relationships rooted in truth, not convenience. A smaller circle becomes a stronger circle, and a stronger circle becomes a FM that helps you rise higher than you ever could with the wrong people around you. Pain has a way of teaching you lessons that comfort never will, and key point number 6 is about understanding that some of the most powerful transformations in your life will be born from the moments that broke you. Pain shows up in many forms: loss, betrayal, disappointment, failure, loneliness, and unexpected endings. It arrives uninvited, it disrupts your peace, and it forces you to confront parts of yourself you would have rather avoided. But pain also tells the truth. It reveals what needs to change, what needs to end, what needs to heal, and what needs to be protected. Comfort keeps you where you are, but pain pushes you toward who you're meant to become. You may not see it in a moment, but every hardship you face carries a message, a shift, a lesson that shapes your character in ways easy days never could. When life hurts, you are forced to grow. You are pushed to see what you didn't want to acknowledge. You are confronted with weaknesses you used to ignore, and you are strengthened in places that were once fragile. Pain forces you to mature emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It teaches you patience when everything feels uncertain. It teaches you boundaries when someone crosses a line you didn't even know you had. It teaches you resilience when you survive something you thought would break you. Every challenge stretches your capacity, your awareness, and your perspective. Pain becomes a mirror showing you who you are beneath the surface, your raw strength, your hidden fears, your deeper desires, your unspoken truths. And through that reflection, you learn what you need to release and what you need to rise. The problem is that most people see pain as a punishment rather than a teacher. They run from it, numb it, avoid it, or bury it because it feels safer to escape than to face the discomfort. But avoiding pain only delays growth. Ignoring pain only ensures the same lessons will repeat. Pain unaddressed becomes a cycle, but pain confronted becomes a breakthrough. When you start listening to what your pain is trying to tell you, you begin to understand that it never arrives to destroy you. It arrives to redirect you. Sometimes it removes people who are blocking your future. Sometimes it ends a chapter you were afraid to close. Sometimes it exposes truth you were blind to. Sometimes it pushes you onto a path you wouldn't have chosen without the discomfort. Pain has a purpose even when it doesn't have an explanation. Pain also builds resilience, the kind of strength that doesn't scream but stands firm. It teaches you how to move even when you're unsure. It teaches you how to breathe through chaos. It teaches you how to rebuild with what's left when everything falls apart. This resilience becomes your armor, not hardening your heart, but preparing it. You learn to trust yourself more deeply because you've seen yourself survive what you once feared. You learn to stay grounded when the world shakes because you've already lived through storms that tested every weakness you had. This kind of strength cannot be manufactured through comfort. It can only be earned through adversity. Pain makes you wiser. It sharpens your intuition, helping you sense danger, dishonesty, or misalignment, but before it reaches you, it helps you recognize real love because you've tasted the opposite. It helps you identify peace because you've lived through chaos. It helps you choose better because you've learned from choosing wrong. Every painful chapter becomes a reference point, guiding you away from patterns that once hurt you and toward decisions that honor your worth. Without these lessons, you would continue walking in circles, repeating stories you were meant to outgrow. As you move toward 2026, you must understand that the pain you've experienced wasn't wasted. It prepared you for the strength required in the next season of your life. It removed what wasn't aligned. It carved space for better people, better opportunities, and a better version of yourself. It shaped your mindset, your courage, your clarity, and your awareness. Pain taught you in months what comfort couldn't teach you in years. And even if the journey hurt, it built the resilience, depth, and wisdom that will guide you into a future you're finally ready to claim. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that the world doesn't pause for their healing, their confusion, or their hesitation. And that moment is when accountability becomes the most powerful tool they have. K-point number 7 is about taking full responsibility for your life, your choices, your habits, your reactions, your direction, and your future. Accountability isn't about blaming yourself for everything that happened to you. It's about owning what you do from this moment forward. Most people never grow because they spend too much time pointing fingers outward instead of looking inward. They blame circumstances, people, childhood, timing, luck, or anything outside themselves because accountability feels heavy. But the truth is that your life doesn't change when you find someone to blame. It changes when you decide to take control. Every step you take toward accountability is a step away from excuses, and excuses are the chains that keep you tied to the same place year after year. Accountability forces you to see your power. It makes you realize that nobody is coming to save you, fix you, or hand you the life you dream about. You have to build it yourself with discipline, honesty, courage, and consistency. When you hold yourself accountable, you stop waiting for motivation to magically appear. You stop expecting people to understand your vision before you do the work. You stop assuming success will arrive just because you want it. You start accepting that the results you get are always connected to the effort you put in. Accountability sharpens your self-awareness. It reveals your habits. It exposes your patterns. It shows you the truth about why you are where you are. That truth may sting at first, but it becomes the foundation of your growth. You can't fix what you refuse to acknowledge, and accountability is the doorway through which every transformation must pass. Accountability also means no longer lying to yourself, which is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It means admitting when you procrastinate instead of pretending you're overwhelmed. It means acknowledging when you choose comfort over progress. It means seeing when you repeat unhealthy patterns, attract the same kind of relationships, or sabotage your own success out of fear. This level of honesty requires courage because it strips away the illusions you've been hiding behind. But when you face the truth about yourself without excuses, something shifts inside you. You become stronger, clearer, and more focused. You stop carrying denial like a shield and start carrying responsibility like armor. You begin to understand that accountability isn't about judgment, it's about freedom. As you move into the next chapter of your life, accountability will separate the version of you that wishes from the version of you that achieves. Wishing doesn't change anything. Complaining doesn't change anything. Blaming doesn't change anything. Only action does. Accountability turns intentions into results. It turns dreams into plans. It turns plans into progress, and progress into transformation. When you take accountability seriously, you stop living as a passenger in your own life. You get behind the wheel. You decide the destination. You choose the pace. You determine the path. Even when the road gets rough, you keep going because you know the only person responsible for your journey is you. Accountability also strengthens your character. It teaches you discipline because you're longer avoiding the work. It teaches you integrity because you start following through on your promises, especially the ones you make to yourself. It teaches you resilience because you learn to stand back up without waiting for someone else to lift you. And it teaches you self-respect because you begin to trust yourself again. You build confidence not from praise, but from proof that you can rely on your own commitment, your own effort, and your own consistency. This kind of confidence is unshakable because it isn't based on outside validation. It's built through internal responsibility. The life you want in 2026 requires a version of you who refuses to play victim to anything or anyone. Not your past, not your circumstances, not your fears, not your failures. Accountability transforms you into someone who doesn't wait for life to happen. They make life happen. Someone who doesn't crumble under pressure. They rise through it. Someone who doesn't settle for less. They demand more from themselves because they know they are capable of more. And when you carry this level of responsibility for your own life, you become unstoppable because no setback, no rejection, no mistake, and no challenge can control a person who has learned to control themselves. When you reach a stage in life where you no longer fear losing people, opportunities, or situations, something powerful happens inside you. You stop living in anxiety and start living in authenticity. This key point is about understanding the moment when you realize that anything or anyone that leaves your life was never meant to stay, and anything that stays was never meant to harm you. It is the moment when your emotional balance becomes stronger than the temporary chaos around you. When you stop chasing begging or proving your worth, the world suddenly shifts. People who used to take you for granted become confused. Situations that once intimidated you lose their power, and the stress that used to overwhelm your heart no longer has space to survive. You begin to understand that peace is more valuable than validation. Self-respect is more important than attention, and emotional stability is far more precious than forced connections. This realization does not come overnight. It comes after countless experiences where you trusted too easily, gave too much, stayed too long, or loved too deeply. It comes from the moments when you felt betrayed, abandoned, overlooked, or ignored. Yet, instead of breaking you, those moments built a new version of you. They taught you that attachment without boundaries leads to suffering, generosity without limits leads to exhaustion, and love without self-respect leads to disappointment. You learn to stop carrying people who refuse to walk beside you, stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you, and stop giving pieces of your heart to those who treat it carelessly. The day you stop fearing loss is the day you start gaining yourself. It is also the moment when life becomes lighter. You no longer hold on to things out of fear, scarcity, or loneliness. You understand that losing someone who doesn't value you is not a loss, but a release. Losing an opportunity that wasn't aligned with your growth is not failure, but redirection. Losing a situation that brought you stress is not punishment, but protection. When you embrace this mindset, you attract new levels of peace, clarity, and abundance. You no longer operate from desperation, but from confidence. You no longer cling to what hurts, but welcome what heals. You no longer wait for external validation, but create your own worth from within. Your relationships evolve as well. People sense your strength without you needing to announce it. Those who once manipulated your emotions lose access to your energy. Those who disrespected your boundaries realize they can no longer cross them. Those who expected you to break realize you rebuilt yourself stronger than before. Your presence becomes different, calmer, wiser, and more grounded. You speak less and observe more. You give less and choose better. You trust slowly but love deeply. You are no longer available for chaos, drama, or emotional games. You protect your peace as your most valuable asset. This transformation makes you magnetic. When you stop running after things, the right things come toward you. When you stop trying to prove your worth, the right people recognize it on their own. When you stop accepting the bare minimum, life begins offering the maximum. You understand that everything that exits your life creates space for something better to enter. Instead of fearing change, you trust it. Instead of resisting endings, you embrace them. Instead of seeing loss as pain, you see it as evolution. And in this mindset, nothing can shake your inner foundation. You become someone who stands firm even in uncertainty, someone who chooses themselves even when others don't, and someone who knows that whatever is meant for them will never require them to lose their dignity, peace, or self-worth.